Hey, Eagle fans! Your Statesboro Walmart is your one-stop shop for all your Georgia Southern football and game day needs. Pick up your GSU sports gear here. We have t-shirts, hats, tote bags, koozies, stadium bleacher seats, car spirit flags, wall pennants, beads, and more right here at the best prices in town. Also, don't forget we can handle all of your tailgating needs with our great food trays, baked goods, and fresh, high-quality meat, seafood, and chicken.
Walmart. Save money. Live better. Walmart.
On this week's show, the Georgia Southern Eagles coming off their second bye week of the season as they prepare for a big Sun Belt matchup on the road at Troy. We'll preview that and have much more as we welcome you inside the Eagles' Nest. And welcome inside the Eagles' Nest. I'm your host, Josh Aubrey, being joined by Mike Anthony, sports editor and Georgia Southern beat writer for the Statesboro Herald. And Mike, we've had a week to relax. The team's had a week to relax and get ready for the big trip to Troy. You had told me earlier in the year that this would be a big game. I would have said, nah, Troy's got a new coach. They weren't all that good last year. Let's mark that down as a win, but things have changed a little bit. Before we get into Troy, let's talk about where the Georgia Southern Eagles are. And I know over the last couple of weeks, one of the main points of emphasis has been on the passing game.
The passing game, we talked all through the offseason. It was a major deal throughout the coaches, the players. They all talked about advancing that passing game, making that offense, which was so good last year, making it a two-dimensional threat. It just hasn't come along. The accuracy not there. Sometimes when the accuracy does show up, a few drops really hurting the Eagles' chances to develop a downfield passing game, prevent opponents from stacking that box with 8 and 9 guys. So still searching for some sort of consistency. Not helping matters is B.J. Johnson going down in the Idaho game. A broken clavicle has kept him out for about 2 months now. Some speculation that he could be coming back, not this week, but possibly in the future, maybe for a bowl game, maybe even a little bit sooner than that. That definitely can't hurt things, but even if he does come back, you're still going to have to get the receivers getting some separation, and when that happens, either Fabian Upshaw or Kevin Ellison needs to be able to put it on the numbers.
All right, well, we know they've been working on it. Hopefully that'll pay off, and like you said, if guys are putting 8 or 9 in the box, it's kind of tough to run with those kind of numbers right up there. Well, moving on to the Troy game itself. Georgia Southern comes into this game. Right now, I guess they're third place technically. They've got one loss in the conference, as we know. App State lost this past week. So Georgia Southern goes into this with a big opportunity ahead of them in a game that looks like it's going to be a lot tougher than it would have been earlier, as Troy's really coming on strong, took App to triple overtime, won this past week, and they've scored 40 or 50 points in the last couple games.
Yeah, a couple of ways to look at this game. First off is the Troy offense finally clicking. Neil Brown came in with that fast pace, air it out, 60, 70, 80 plays a game if he gets his way. Really tough to compete with when you're a defense that sometimes struggles with the up-tempo like the Eagles have done the last couple of years. The last 3 games, at least 41 points each time out for Troy. You mentioned the 3 overtime game, pushing App to its limit at Boone. We all know how hard it is to win there or even come close to winning. So Troy definitely seems to be hitting its stride. On the other hand, this is still a 3-6 squad. They lost to a couple of cellar dwellers in the Sun Belt, but we saw this last year with Appalachian State starting 1-5 and then running the table down the stretch. So might depend on which Troy team shows up, but if it's the one we've seen the last few weeks, Georgia Southern needs to bring its A game.
All right, well, we had a chance to talk with head coach Willie Fritz and some of the players about the matchup on the road at Troy.
We got healthy. We were able to work on some things that we don't get a chance to work on all the time. We lifted weights a little bit more than we normally do, devoted some more time to study. So, I think it's good for you. I think it was an opportune time. I've kind of told our guys we got a 4-game stretch, coming up right now, and the first one is Troy over there, a conference game, going to be a heck of a challenge for us.
You've had 2 weeks to prepare. When you look at Troy, what do you think?
Well, they're getting better every single week. They really are. The last 3 weeks, they played extremely well. Quarterback is a very accurate passer, run the ball good enough that you got to respect that. Defensively, they're getting better every single week as well. So they they've scored over 40 and over 50 twice in the last 3 ball games, and they've done a good job of taking the ball away. I think they got 6 takeaways against Monroe, so they're playing really well right now.
Anything in particular you guys have tried to work on over the last couple weeks that you thought you were kind of struggling with?
We're going to get better throwing the football. We've been working on that every single day, and it's going to come. There's going to be time we're going to get out there and we're going to be 10 of 12 for 200 yards. And so we got to make people pay when they're packing the box.
Quarterback group, we feel very, very comfortable throwing the ball. Our receivers are comfortable throwing and catching the ball. We're going to start throwing in a lot more pass plays into the offense. So that'd be good for us to spread the field out a little bit.
Troy looks like a team that's really on the rise. They've scored a lot of points over the last few weeks. Your thoughts on playing them?
We're just ready to play them. We're excited to go up there to Troy, Alabama. Those guys have been playing very good these last couple games. They got a great coaching staff. Defensively, they're very sound. Offense, they can throw the ball around. So our defense is going to be on their P's and Q's, but we're excited to go up there and play.
We had another great day of practice this week. We also had a great week of practice last week too. Last week for us, even though it was a bye week, it wasn't an off week, so we definitely got working last week and plan on continue to keep getting work this week for Troy.
Got to hit the road for Troy. This is a team that really looks like they're on the rise. They took App to triple overtime. They scored a lot of points lately. Your thoughts on playing Troy?
They definitely got a very good ball team. They definitely played ULM tough last weekend. Beat them 51, I believe it was 14. Like you said, they played App very tough. App beat us, so we got to come out this weekend, bring our A game, and Troy has gotten better every week of the season, so definitely got to play hard against them.
It's 2015 model sell-off at Franklin Toyota. Now is your best time to buy because every 2015 model must be sold.
At Franklin Toyota, save up to $3,500 off new RAV4s or get 0 APR for 60 months.
Find it today at Franklin Toyota in Statesboro.
Well, Mike, it's that time where we always take a look at the old crystal ball and find out what each of us think is going to happen in this week's game. I almost hit the Texas State game on the number. I was pretty proud of myself for that. Hadn't done that a lot this year. This week, Georgia Southern comes in as a 5-point favorite. The line started at 9, has worked its way down to 5, which means a lot of people are thinking it's going to be a lot closer than we may have thought. Your thoughts on the game with Troy?
Well, I tend to disagree with the guys who are, I suppose, putting the money heavily on Troy. Troy definitely is showing that they're a better team now than they showed at the beginning of the season, but I think Georgia Southern's attack is perfectly suited to kind of throw a wrench into what Troy tries to do. They're all about timing. They're about fast pace. They're about wearing you down with that passing game on offense. The Eagles, on the other hand, they can keep you off the field for long amounts of time with that running game. They ran wild on Troy last year, a better defense for the Trojans this time around, but still over 400 yards on the ground for Georgia Southern last year against Troy. They've done it to a bunch of teams this year, even with some of the better defenses they've faced. If Georgia Southern can do that, keep the clock moving, keep the Troy offense off the field, we've seen with those passing offenses so much having to do with timing. It can really mess with their staying in sync, kind of keep them sputtering, and a couple of 3-and-outs against Georgia Southern's offense, that can lead to some bad things and lead to Georgia Southern racking up the points, making it very tough to catch them.
Give me a score.
Score. I'm going to go with Georgia Southern 31, Troy 17.
All right. I'm going 38-21. I think if you give Willie Fritz 2 weeks to prepare for a team, he's going to find some flaws and be able to take advantage of that. And hopefully, as you mentioned, the Eagles able to get a little bit of passing game to keep them honest and make them where they have to respect the pass at least and get into that running game. Well, before we go, let's also mention some of the other sports that are going on. We have soccer. Unfortunately, the women are done, but the guys still have their season ahead. And we'll also mention volleyball. Thankfully, they get to play in the tournament that they'll be hosting.
Yeah, women's soccer, they got their crack against Troy, couldn't make it happen. That weird conference soccer tournament needing to move out to the suburbs of Atlanta. A lot of rain making it too difficult for Georgia State to host on its home turf, but Georgia Southern's women's team dropping a 3-0 decision in the first round of the playoffs there, so they're out. The men still alive. They'll play Georgia State for a second consecutive time, drop the regular season finale, but they'll get them again in the semifinals, almost exactly how we saw it last year. They won't quite have the home field advantage. This time the tournament in Boone instead of in Statesboro, but they'll get their crack at it on Friday night, trying to advance to the Sun Belt Championship game for a second straight year. And then volleyball, the Eagles struggled throughout the beginning of the season, got a couple of wins here and there. A big win against Georgia State last week. It clinches the 8 spot, so The good news for the Eagles is they'll get to play in the conference tournament on their home floor at Hanner Fieldhouse. The bad news is they're locked into the 8th seed, and their first opponent will be top seed Arkansas State, 24-1 on the season.
All right, well, that'll wrap things up for now. For Mike Anthony, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.